If you're an online business owner or solo entrepreneur and you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed in your business, you're going to want to stay tuned because today I'm finally going to be sharing my personal decluttering practice, and I'm going to be sharing with you how I create more sustainability and space and clarity in my business as a projector entrepreneur. So if you enjoy this video and want to continue to learn and deepen your understanding of human design, I'd be so grateful if you could show some support by hitting that like button and subscribing to our channel. Anyways, welcome back everyone. And if you're new here, my name is Crystal Alferrero. I'm founder of the Human Design Academy, and I am a human design projector who's been an entrepreneur since 2019. I was doing all the things I was told and recommended by the so-called experts and gurus, and went on to basically burn out after my first year in business because so much of what I was taught was just completely unsustainable for me, especially being a projector who doesn't have consistent access to this life force, workforce energy to do things in this constant way. But thankfully, my journey brought me back to human design, where I learned so much more about myself, how my energy works, and how to actually build a sustainable business with strategies and systems and techniques that are most effective and enjoyable for me. If you want to learn a bit more about how I built a six-figure online business without the hustle, you're going to want to watch this video right here, where I talk about my top 5 tips. And my first tip was all about decluttering. I have had a lot of requests since that video that I recorded asking me to do another video on how I declutter and optimize my business for success as a projector who doesn't have consistent energy. So here it finally is. And just a disclaimer, decluttering is not a one and done task. It's more like regular upkeep that needs to be done periodically. So as it's needed, or as you feel things are starting to get overwhelming, and at least for me, that feeling of overwhelm or lack of focus tends to be my biggest signposts for when I'm due for another declutter or for, another business optimization, basically. So if you're ready, let's just get started. All right. So the first step to my decluttering process or my business optimization process using human design is to do a mind map or a chart of all of my business activities. So this is where I like to start because you need to see where your energy is going. You need to see where you're actually investing your energy so that you can optimize it, right? And the way that I like to do this is, number one, by defining my business pillars. In other words, what are the core activities that I'm doing? You can also think of these as little departments, so to speak. So in this example, we have, our marketing department or our marketing pillar. We have sales, we have content creation. Content creation kind of flows into both of these, marketing and sales. We also have anything to do with front-facing client services. And for me, that can include either creating certain offers or even just delivering the offers as well. And I like to group these all kind of under revenue generating activities. And the reason why I like to identify revenue generating versus non-revenue generating is because revenue generating activities are important. These are the areas that are going to help you actually generate revenue, like the name says. So these are good. You're going to want to prioritize these as opposed to maybe some non-revenue generating activities. And so non-revenue generating activities would be things like admin and operations, things like website maintenance, email management. Obviously, like they're still important, but you really want to make sure you're not spending all your day fixing your website, playing with the colors, playing with the fonts. Up to a point, it gets, I feel like it becomes avoidance in doing other important areas where this is how you're actually going to make money, right? And so, yeah, I like to identify my business pillars. So you'll see the different ones that I generally use for myself here. And within those pillars, you want to identify the specific activities that you're doing, right? So in this case, under marketing, I like to identify both online and offline kind of activities that I like to do. And when I say offline, this is anything that is non-social media related. So online marketing can be, in this example here, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, etc. Right? For me personally, I in terms of like the core platforms that I use Instagram and YouTube. Those are my core platforms. I do also have a Pinterest, but it's not very active right now. That's actually one of the things that I kind of decluttered in my example. Well, again, in my case, but I'm just going to leave you with this that you see here as just like examples. So under marketing online, you want to put out all of your, I'm going to say, social media platforms that you use, or even SEO platforms that you use, right? So it could be Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn. If you have a blog, you're going to want to put that there. Pinterest, if you have that, or podcast, right? These are all kind of online outlets that you use to gain either visibility for your business, get seen, or even nurture your audience, right? Get to know them, maybe engage with them. So you're going to want to put all of those here. In terms of offline, again, not everyone is an online business owner. If that's the case for you, then you're going to want to put your other means of getting visible and nurturing your audience. Maybe that means doing guest speaking events that are live, right? Maybe it looks like doing collaborations with other businesses, and that's how you share audiences. Maybe it also just looks like having a good referral process or referral system. So, again, just laying out all the different activities is the first thing that you're going to want to do. In terms of sales examples, maybe you do certain promo on social media, right? Maybe you have a promotional launch that you do every once in a while. So you're going to want to list out all of those things. Maybe you do promos via your email list. So writing up email promotions. Maybe you do workshops, right? Again, this is just an example, but you're going to want to put all the activities that you do under sales here. Again, these pillars can look different for you in your business, and that's okay. That's totally fine. The core purpose of this part of the activity is to just have in front of you laid out essentially what you're doing, right? And where all of your energy is going, right? We want to think of our energy kind of like this source that has threads going in different areas that's going into all of these activities. So imagine when things start to get out of hand, when you've started to take on a lot of things, you'll notice there's going to be a lot of loose threads here and there and everywhere. And so we want to at least identify what these are. And from here, it gives us a good starting point as to which threads maybe we want to cut, which threads we want to change, etc. Right? But we still have to identify where are these threads going. Under content creation, again, you're going to want to identify what types of content you create, also the frequency of which you create them. This is an important key aspect that we're going to touch on later. So you want to identify the frequency of which you do things. Same thing with the client services, right? Client services is very important. This is what I prioritize the most in my business, right? Even before marketing and sales, I want to make sure that I am effectively serving my clients. So I want to, first of all, identify what's my offer suite. What is it that I'm offering? And, what you can also do is how often. So putting the frequency, how often are you serving your clients on a weekly basis? And how much energy does that take from you? These are just little things that maybe you're going to want to note as well. In terms of non-revenue generating activities, again, administration, anything to do with administration, anything that is not marketing, sales, or client services related, then you're going to want to put here. And so within that, you're also going to want to identify, are you outsourcing certain things, and just making sure that you put a little note in it. So accounting and legal, I do not do that stuff, even though I was a former accountant. Again, I don't want to, it's not the most fun for me. And it just makes more sense as a business owner to outsource the things that are not revenue generating in my business as much as possible. Accounting, legal, outsourced. I have that noted there. And just take your time and go through this activity. Sometimes I find that I avoid doing this activity, and I find that avoidance is actually just another sign that things have gotten a little bit out of hand. Because as a business owner, again, especially if you have shiny object syndrome, especially if you have that open head center, you might slowly and gradually start taking things on, adding new platforms to do, maybe doing new offers. All of these things can start trickling in.
And usually when that happens, again, that's when you start to feel that overwhelm or that increased stress. And just it flows into every other aspect of your life as well. But that sign, that overwhelm, is a sign that maybe a good decluttering is due and that it's a really good time to do this activity. I also find this and doing this for myself is actually kind of therapeutic in some ways because it brings back this sense of internal safety because I've now identified everything that I've taken on and I'm no longer hiding from anything. And for me, that gives me the power to figure out what I want to do with it, right? It's not just all these loose ends, these loose threads all everywhere, um, overstretched, overwhelmed. And yeah, it gives me that power to see what's happening. It gives me that sight, that vision. And from there, we can take our next step. We can do something about it, right? And that leads me to my second step. So here, we want to not only identify out of these different activities that we're seeing, what they are, but we also want to identify any kind of energetic misalignments and bottlenecks in our business, specifically using our signature and not self themes as signposts and also our authority. This is where the human design experiment really kicks in, right? This is where you're going to want to tap into really what it is that you're feeling. So, where out of all these activities that we've defined here, right? Let's say these are your activities, where do you feel that dread or resistance? So, using those not self themes, if you're a generator, where do you feel that frustration? If you're a projector, where do you feel that bitterness? If you're a manifester, where do you feel that anger? If you're a reflector, where do you feel that disappointment, right? So that's one of the areas you can identify these areas of misalignment. You can also, just as a general theme of misalignment, this frustration, bitterness, anger, disappointment, sometimes that leads to just straight up exhaustion. It's like dragging your foot through the mud. You're not taking that path of least resistance. You're going the hard way. And this is really where you want to identify, where do things feel really hard? And not just hard in a general sense. Obviously, business is not easy. But where does it feel hard and you're still not getting any kind of return on it? Or it just feels like you're doing so much and you're not getting you're not really getting much ROI on those things. And so as we look at these different things where we feel this dread, this feeling of resistance, what does your personal authority feel about this activity? Right? Do you feel like if you're a generator, for example, are you looking at something and you feel this dread and avoidance? Does that mean it's a lack of response for you? Like, are you actually responding to this thing? Is this thing actually something you can generate energy for or that you have energy available for? Right? If you're a projector, for example, with an open head center, especially, maybe have you taken on certain offers or have you taken on certain things because you think you should do it, not because you actually, let's say if you're an emotional being, not because you've waited out the wave? Or maybe, yeah, again, if you're an emotional being, maybe you're going to want to sit on these things and ask yourself, do I really enjoy doing this activity in my business? And if not, again, waiting that 24 hours, coming back to this list and saying, how do I still feel about this? Do I have clarity that this is something that I actually want to continue doing? Or do I want to actually do something about this? Do I want to change this? Right. And so this is why I also like to go into asking and identifying with these areas of resistance, what is it about these activities that actually feel misaligned for you? Right. The reason why I like to identify this is because it's not always about the activity itself. Sometimes it can just simply be the way that you're doing it, or maybe the frequency at which you're doing things, or maybe the quantity of things that you've taken on altogether. So, out of all these things that you're feeling resistance around, why do they feel misaligned for you? So, reflect on that. Is it too time consuming? Is it overwhelming? Is it too energy consuming? Do you feel blocked in some way, or is it any other kind of reason? So it's all going to make sense why you want to think about these things in this next step that we're going to do. But before we get into that, I want to ask all of you online business owners, what's one of your biggest areas of resistance in your business? So share with me down in the comments, because for me personally, I found that I had a lot of resistance. And I find that most of my clients have a lot of resistance around content creation. And the reason for this is because, again, we, especially us that use social media, we're kind of bombarded with all of this information on how to do things, what type of content we should do, which kind of content works, et cetera, et cetera. But the thing is, when we are listening to others for advice, oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes it comes from that person's personal experience and that person's personal preference, right? Not to say that they're wrong, but what might be right for someone else is not always going to be the best for you. And so I want you to just keep that in mind, that sometimes when we are doing what works for other people, and we're not feeling good about it, if we're not enjoying it, then that is a sign of something, right? There's always going to be something that is good for you. So that's what we want to identify. Anything can work, any type of content can work, but you really want to identify what kind of content actually works for you. So I'll give you an example in my case where basically before I started my YouTube channel, I was heavily reliant on Instagram. And so I would spend so much time and energy just trying to condense all of my ideas into this one little tiny square, into this like tiny caption, maybe even carousel post at the time. I don't know if they're still popular, but I still do them. But anyways, I would spend so much time and energy just trying to condense all of my ideas and the things that I wanted to share into these tiny posts. And that felt time consuming. It felt energy consuming. And it's Instagram. You post it and it disappears, right? Like it doesn't really, mm, it doesn't have a long shelf life, right? And so what I did instead is I transitioned to YouTube, right? I placed more emphasis and time and energy into building my YouTube channel. And so from there, instead of having to even condense all of my ideas, I didn't have to do that at all. I saved so much time just from recording these videos, from giving myself more space to speak things out and to talk about things in more detail without the need to, condense everything. And not only that, but YouTube was a great platform to create this library, right? Create this source where people can come back to over and over again, where the shelf life was a lot longer. And so from that shift, again, I felt so much better about it. Things felt so much easier. I didn't feel like I was restricting myself, putting myself in a ball in this one way. So again, there's that piece of perfectionism that stopped me from doing the YouTube thing in general. But once I got over that and I gave myself that permission to just go for it, things just felt so much easier, right? And over time, even though YouTube wasn't giving me the quick results, right? It's something that grew, that I was able to nurture, and that now works for me. So again, you're going to want to think of if you're finding these areas, actually, I'm going to pause on that because we're going to talk about this in our third step. So yeah, now that you have identified different areas of misalignment, maybe different bottlenecks in your business, now we're going to move on to step 3, right? And that is to actually do something about it, right? To actually take action on these areas that feel misaligned. And so you're going to want to optimize your business, or really optimize it by either decluttering, right? Delegating, or changing the misaligned aspects that you have identified that feel unaligned, right? So again, going back to all of these different things, what are things that maybe don't even matter, right? Maybe you don't even use it. Maybe you're avoiding it. For me, I was on LinkedIn for a little bit, and this became something that I just completely wanted to get rid of. It wasn't my vibe, right? Not to say that that it doesn't work. Just for the stuff that I do, I felt like it wasn't for me, right? So you want to consider, out of these things that feel misaligned, what do you want to just declutter, right? And so for me, I think it was this color here. There we go. So in this example here that I'm walking you through, we're going to want to highlight, or you can take note of it however you want to do it, but you essentially want to go through all these items that feel misaligned and change what does, right? Change it in terms of either getting rid of it, decluttering. So let's see, anything else here? Referrals, these are anything offline like referrals, guest speaking, collaborations. I enjoy doing those things, so I would want to keep those. Same thing with promotions on social media, email list, workshops. I love doing workshops. Those are my favorite. Maybe, let's say, for example, maybe you do cold DMs, right? Maybe that's something that you've been taught. Maybe that's something that, someone taught you, oh, it's a numbers game. So the more DMs you do, the more chances that you're going to get that sale or someone's going to pull through, right? But again, it's not going to be for everyone. Maybe you spend a lot of energy for it and there's no, again, maybe you get that one sale or two sales, but it's energy draining for you. So in this case, we're going to want to declutter that, right? Or instead of like, you don't necessarily have to declutter it. Maybe you want to replace it, right? Maybe there's something else that you want to do instead of cold DMs. So maybe instead of cold DMs, you only message people that are engaging with your content. So you want to replace it. So I put it in green. I don't know how we want to call this, but let's say warm DMs if that's a thing. But I'm just giving you examples, right? And what I mean by warm DMs is instead of engaging with all these people that are maybe new, maybe you want to only engage with people that are actually engaging in your content, right? You know that there's an interest there and you're not just like welcoming them or you're not trying to like find them. And I know like one of the engagement strategies that I used to do a long, long time ago that was just, and it was recommended by certain business coaches and marketing experts. And this was this idea around, and I think Gary Vee also, recommended that leave your 2 cents kind of strategy, right? Going into related content and engaging with their content, leaving valuable comments. But again, leaving something valuable is energy consuming. You have to think about it. You have to put effort into it. There's other ways that you can also make sales. There's other ways you can be seen, get nurtured that don't involve spending hours on your phone all day. So again, it's everything's very personal. Maybe you enjoy that stuff. So the whole idea is to identify what feels unaligned for you and how to change that to something that does, right? Another thing here, maybe we look at content creation, and content creation is a stressful area for us. So, we're pumping out Instagram content 4 times a week. We're pumping out LinkedIn content 4 times a week. We're pumping out YouTube videos 4 times a month. And then, email newsletters are weekly because maybe we're told that we have to be consistent. So you want to identify, okay, well, maybe we have an opportunity here because it's a lot, right? At least if I were to tackle this, it would be a lot. So number one, because we're not doing LinkedIn anymore, we can just kind of get rid of that, right? And for everything else, is there an opportunity to reduce frequency? Right now, on YouTube, I think it depends. Like sometimes I'm able to batch a bunch of content and I can get them out pretty quickly, but sometimes I won't be able to do 4 times a month, and that's okay. And so maybe we want to reduce this to 2 times, right? So let's color that in here, right? Maybe Instagram 4 times a week is a lot. So maybe we want to reduce that to even 3 times a week, right? Email newsletters, I don't do them weekly. I kind of do them sporadically, but let's just say, for example, that you're okay with that. So you just want to leave it. Now, let's look at our client service delivery, right? So these, let's say digital products, those are minimal efforts. You're okay with them. For some people, so I work with a lot of human design readers, people that create human design PDFs. And so there are, especially if you're starting out, this creation of PDFs and blueprints, it can be very timely. It can be very energy consuming. So you want to look at your process. Is there a way that you can maybe automate it? Is there a way you can delegate parts of that creation process? It really depends on how you do things. So for me at the beginning, I used to do this all by myself. It used to be very, very time consuming, and I used to do it like manually, right? And so I found ways in my process to make it more efficient. Number one, I used to actually on Canva, I'd have all my pages kind of pre-made in that way. So it took a while to actually pre-make them. That took a long time. And then eventually I got my assistant to help me, or I delegated parts of that process to my assistant to help me put together these blueprints after after I've created these, the different contents, the different pages. Now I've actually automated that process. So let's just say, for example, I don't have it automated yet. You might want to look at different programs to help you automate that process, or parts of the process, right? It doesn't have to be completely automated. Maybe there's certain things that you can do to save yourself time. So you're going to want to identify that. Readings, maybe of coaching programs. Let's say you have a coaching program, right? Or actually, yeah, let's say you have a coaching program and your frequency right now is that you're doing maybe 5 calls a month or 5 calls a week. Is that a lot for you, right? Is that too much for you? If that's okay, then you just leave it. If it seems like a lot, maybe you're going to want to do 5 calls every other week instead. Or, so, some people have in their coaching programs weekly calls. This is a common thing that I've seen. And so you want to ask yourself, can you still deliver the same results, but without that weekly call, if that's costing you a lot of energy? Or what do you want to tweak about your coaching program that is going to feel good for you, right? When you're thinking of your offers, you want to kind of create that Venn diagram. So what you need from, or actually what your client needs, what you need, and kind of merging that together. So you want to see where the two intersect, but you really do want to incorporate, okay, well, what do you need out of this process, or sorry, out of this service, so that you can be the best service provider that you can be, so that you enjoy it, you feel satisfied, successful, you feel at peace, or you feel that surprise when you're doing it, that delight when you're actually serving your clients, right? So you really, really want to incorporate that into how you create your offers. And lastly, in your admin and ops, right? Maybe you're doing all of this stuff by yourself. So is there, let's say, I'm just trying to think. Actually, we'll just leave it at that. But maybe there's something here that you're going to want to delegate. Maybe you're creating a new website. Are you doing that yourself? Is this something that you have the resources maybe to delegate yourself, right? So let's say you do have the resources. You have some savings or left around in your account, and you have that luxury to delegate. So, okay, why is it that you have to do this yourself? You can spend those hours and hours and hours that you would have been working on your website doing more of the things that are going to actually generate revenue in your business, either, improving your offer suite, serving your clients, or maybe posting, creating more good quality content, right? Doing more workshops, maybe, etc. Right? There's an opportunity cost to not doing things. So sometimes, again, it can be worth it to actually just delegate it, right? Again, you want to be wise about this in terms of your finances. Sometimes the faster you try to scale, the faster you try to spend money, the more unsustainable things can be. And then you're all of a sudden feeling a lot of pressure to make more money because you've invested all this money into something else, right? Without having the sales catch up to it. So you want to take your time with these things. That's what sustainability is when it comes to business. We don't have to scale super, super fast. We scale at a rate that we're comfortable with, right? You don't always have to go all in. You can go at a rate that feels good for you, that feels safe for you, right? And yeah, again, there you have it. I'm just going to leave this as an example. You want to continue to go through this. And like I said, this is a process, right? This is how I declutter my business. This is how I optimize my business regularly. I like to, number one, again, going back here, identify all the business activities where my energy is going, identify what is creating this or what activities feel misaligned or are creating bottlenecks using my not self theme of that bitterness or resentment. Like, where do I feel exhausted even in my business? Where do I feel that dread or resistance? And where's my spleen? So I'm a splenic authority. Where's my splenic authority saying like, "Ooh, this is not healthy for you. Like this is not good for you." Right? You want to listen to that personal authority around certain activities that are creating that dread and resistance. And we want to identify why these feel misaligned. And then lastly, out of these things that feel misaligned, we want to actually do something about it. So where do we have the opportunity to declutter and get rid of things that are maybe not a high priority, right? Another thing I think I forgot to mention is that I always like to have my primary goal or priorities in mind, right? And that's going to shift during the season. Maybe I'm in a season where I've nailed the offer that I want to provide, that I want to, you know, promote. And so in that stage of my business, maybe I'm all about marketing and sales. And so I really want to focus more on the activities that are aligned to pushing and to marketing and selling a certain offer, right? Maybe I'm in the very beginning stages of my business and I am still trying to figure out what it is that I want to do, or that maybe I'm trying to figure out like what it is that my clients need. So maybe you're more focused on that content creation and more on the marketing side, so you can build your community and get to know them and then create offers around what it is that you're seeing, right? Or maybe you're experimenting with a certain offer that you have. Again, you want to consider your priorities in your business, where you are, and changing it. So changing what feels misaligned. Maybe you want to declutter certain things. Maybe you want to delegate certain things. Maybe you want to automate certain processes if you've seen that they take a lot of manual energy, right? Maybe there are things that are like, oh, well, I'm doing it, but I think it could be easier. It could be more fun. So maybe I'm going to want to switch LinkedIn with TikTok, right? As an example. Maybe there are certain tasks that you do, a lot of. You don't hate them, but it just feels like you're doing a lot of it and it's no longer fun. So maybe you're going to want to reduce the frequency of which you do certain things. And so, yeah, there you have it. And hopefully this, again, this is my process. I know it's not everyone's process. I know it's not going to work for everyone. So, if it does, I'm happy that it did, and hopefully it either validates what it is that you're already doing, or either gives you a different way to look at things, right? It gives you more ideas on how to add more sustainability and optimize your business with human design. Because when we declutter, right, my motto in my business is simplicity. I like to keep things as simple as possible. I do not like to be on all these different platforms. I'm a solo entrepreneur. I mean, solo entrepreneur in that I have, contractors that I work with, assistants that I work with, but I'm not this like big CEO, right? I don't have multiple departments of people working under me. And I like that. I enjoy the simplicity of it. So you really want to look at what works for you. If you're also looking to scale your business, you can do that at a pace that doesn't feel overwhelming. You don't have to hire hundreds of people. You don't even have to hire teams of people to get your goals in terms of what feels successful for you, right? So this is just one way to look at it. Let me know if this helps. Hopefully it does in some way. But anyways, if you're still wanting that extra help in terms of understanding your chart, either from a business perspective, or maybe you need help to walk you through this process and to help optimize your business by design. Maybe you need some, recommendations in terms of looking at your chart, because I think another thing I forgot to mention is based on your chart, there are certain activities that might be more aligned, or certain types of content that might be more aligned for you, right? So if you need help in terms of actually optimizing it and getting more ideas from a human design perspective, I do offer one-to-one human design business readings that include a 90-minute Zoom call. And you'll also get that human design blueprint for your own learning and reflection that you can use as a resource guide. And again, I'm going to leave all of that information in the description down for you below. And yeah, this brings me to the end of this episode, where you learned, how to start decluttering and optimizing your business by your design. So, like I said, hope you enjoyed this video, and I'd be so grateful if you could show me some love, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel to continue learning more about the wonderful human design system. And so that's all for today. Hope you have a great rest of your evening wherever you are, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.